Have you ever noticed that one day, almost without warning, the roles between you and your children begin to shift? You gave them your best years. You guided, sacrificed, and put them first. But now, something has changed. They talk over you. They dismiss your opinions. Or worse, they make you feel like a burden in your own family. Here's the shocking truth. The more you chase their approval, the less they respect you. And anger arguments, they only make things worse. But don't lose hope. Respect can be regained, not through fighting, not through guilt, but through powerful shifts in the way you carry yourself. Shifts that will transform the way your children see you. Today, I'm going to share 6 life-changing actions you can take when your children no longer respect you. These are simple yet deeply powerful steps that restore dignity and rebuild respect. Stay with me until the very end, because the last action may surprise you the most. Before we begin, let me ask, where are you watching from? Share your city or country in the comments. And if you haven't yet, subscribe now so you never miss the guidance and inspiration we bring. Now let's begin with the very first action. Action 1, stop chasing their approval. One of the most painful traps parents fall into is this: trying too hard to please their children. It feels natural. You want harmony. You want connection. You want to feel valued. But here's the reality. The more you chase approval, the less you are respected. Respect doesn't grow from self-sacrifice. It grows from self-respect. Think about it. How many times have you said yes when your heart wanted to say no? How many times have you rearranged your entire schedule just to fit their needs, even when it exhausted you? And how many times did they truly appreciate it? Let me tell you about Linda. She was strong and independent in her younger years. But as she grew older, she began to silence her own voice. She let her adult children make decisions for her. She pushed her opinions aside. She even tolerated the way they sometimes spoke down to her, all because she wanted to keep the peace. But what happened? Her children stopped listening. They stopped valuing her. They saw her as someone who would always agree, always adjust, always give in. Linda thought she was holding the family together, but in truth, she was slowly losing her place in it. And here's the lesson. If you act as though you need their approval, you'll never receive their respect. If you bend too far, you eventually break. So what's the first step? It's learning to stop seeking what should already be yours. Stop chasing approval. Start setting boundaries. Say no when you mean no. Speak your mind even when it's unpopular. Let them see that you value yourself enough to stand tall. At first, it may cause tension. They may resist. They may even push back. But over time, something remarkable happens. The moment you begin respecting yourself, they begin to respect you. Because here's the truth. Children, no matter how old, take their cues from you. If you show them that your feelings come last, they'll treat you that way. But if you stand in your own dignity, they can't help but notice. So let me ask you this. Do you sometimes find yourself saying yes when your heart screams no? If so, comment the number 1 below. Let's see how many of us have walked that road. Remember, this isn't about demanding respect with anger. It's about earning it back through the quiet strength of self-respect. Your words will carry more weight when they come from a place of calm certainty. Your boundaries will speak louder than arguments ever could. Linda eventually realized this. She began voicing her opinions again. She stopped rearranging her life around her children's every demand. And little by little, they noticed. Their tone changed, their eyes softened. Respect began to return. So if your children no longer respect you, the first action is clear. Stop chasing their approval. Respect yourself first. Because when you do, they will learn to see you differently. And once you've taken this step, you're ready for the next. Action 2. Don't argue, but lead by example. Action 2, don't argue, lead by example. When your children talk over you, when they dismiss your opinions, when they treat you as though your words no longer matter, your first instinct may be to fight back. You want to remind them of all you've done. You want to prove your worth. You want to demand their respect. But let me share a hard truth. Arguing never wins respect. Not from your children, not from anyone. Think about it. When was the last time you convinced someone to respect you by shouting louder, Respect doesn't come from words. It comes from presence. From the way you carry yourself, from the way you respond when others test your patience. I remember James, a retired school principal. In the classroom, he commanded authority. Students listened when he spoke. But at home, it was different. His grown children often brushed off his advice. Sometimes they even laughed when he tried to correct them. At first, James argued back. He raised his voice. He reminded them of his sacrifices. But the more he pushed, the more they pulled away. His anger only confirmed their belief that they held the power. Then James tried something different. He stopped chasing respect with words. Instead, he carried himself as if he already had it. He listened more than he spoke. When he did speak, his words were calm, steady, and measured. He no longer needed to win, and slowly something began to change. His children noticed. They saw a man who was not desperate for their approval. They saw dignity. They saw quiet strength. And with time, their tone toward him shifted. This is the lesson. When you argue, you lower yourself to the very level you're trying to rise above. But when you hold your ground with grace, people feel it. And your children, whether they admit it or not, will begin to follow your lead. So how do you put this into action? First, resist the urge to fight every dismissal. If they talk over, you don't shout louder. Pause. Let silence do the work. Second, speak with calm confidence. Say what you need to say without anger. And if they don't accept it, that's okay. Respect isn't demanded in one moment. It's built over time. Third, model the very respect you want to receive. Treat yourself with dignity. Speak to them with composure. Show them by example what respect looks like in practice. Let me ask you this. Have you ever found yourself in an argument that left you drained and unheard? If yes, type the number 2 in the comments. You'll find you're not alone. Remember, your role as a parent doesn't end with age. It transforms. And one of the most powerful ways to guide your children, even as adults, is to embody the qualities you want them to respect. James discovered that, and so can you. So don't waste energy arguing. Lead by example. Because your presence, your calm, and your dignity will speak far louder than any raised voice ever could. Now that we've seen why fighting back only weakens respect, let's move to the next step. Action 3. Withdraw your emotional dependence. Action 3. Withdraw your emotional dependence. One of the hardest truths to face as we grow older is this. You cannot rely on your children for your emotional fulfillment. Yes, you love them deeply. Yes, you want their love and respect in return. But the moment they sense that you need them to feel whole, the balance shifts. And here's the reality. People, even your own children, respect those who stand strong on their own. When you depend on them for validation, attention, or constant reassurance, they begin to feel pressured. What should be a bond of love slowly turns into a weight on their shoulders. I remember Carol, a mother of 3. For decades, her life revolved around her children. As they grew older and moved away, she found herself waiting by the phone. She hoped for their calls. When they didn't come, she called them instead. Often. Too often. She would say, "I miss you so much. Why don't you visit more?" She thought she was expressing love, but her children began to feel guilty, even burdened. Instead of drawing them closer, her longing pushed them away. And then something changed. One day, Carol decided she could no longer live waiting for the phone to ring. She joined a community choir. She started gardening again. She went on outings with friends. She rediscovered her own joy. And something surprising happened. Her children began to call more often, not out of obligation, but out of genuine interest. They admired her independence. They respected her time. Because now she wasn't clinging to them for happiness, she was already fulfilled. That is the power of emotional independence. When your happiness no longer depends on their attention, they begin to value your presence in a new way. Instead of seeing you as someone waiting for their love, they see you as someone they want to love. So how can you start? First, take notice of how much of your joy is tied to your children's actions. Do you feel low when they don't call? Do you measure your worth by their visits? If so, it's time to reclaim that power. Second, invest in yourself. Pick up hobbies that bring you joy, reconnect with old friends, join a group volunteer, or explore interests you set aside years ago. Third, remind yourself that your children's lives are not your only source of meaning. You have your own, and when you live it fully, they'll respect you more, not less. Let me ask you this. Have you ever caught yourself waiting by the phone hoping they'll call? If yes, type the number 3 in the comments. You're not alone, and this can change. Carol's story teaches us that love flows more freely when it's not chased. Respect grows stronger when you stand tall on your own, and the less you need from your children, the more they will give willingly, joyfully, and with respect. So remember this: withdraw your emotional dependence, build your own happiness, and let your children come to you not out of duty, but out of genuine admiration. Now that you've seen how emotional independence changes everything, let's take the next step together. Action 4, set boundaries and enforce them. Action 4, set boundaries and enforce them. One of the biggest reasons children lose respect for their parents is simple: because the parents allow it. If you let your children speak to you with disrespect, if you stay silent when they dismiss your opinions, if you accept being treated as though your feelings don't matter, then without realizing it, you are teaching them that this behavior is acceptable. And here's the truth: people, especially family, will always treat you the way you allow them to. But boundaries change that. Boundaries are not walls. They are not about cutting off your children or starting conflict. They are about calmly, firmly, and consistently deciding what kind of behavior you will and will not accept, and then enforcing it with grace. Let me share with you the story of Michael. Michael had spent years running his own business. He was disciplined, respected, and confident in the workplace. But when it came to his grown children, he struggled. They interrupted him when he spoke. They brushed off his advice. They even criticized the way he lived his life. At first, Michael told himself it wasn't worth the fight. He stayed silent. But every time he did, something inside him weakened. And every time he let it pass, his children pushed further. Until one day he realized silence was costing him respect. So Michael changed his approach. The next time his son interrupted him, he calmly said, "I'll continue speaking when you're ready to listen." When his daughter dismissed his opinion, he replied, "You don't have to agree with me, but I expect you to respect me." And when their behavior continued to cross the line, he made it clear: "If you cannot treat me with basic respect, then we will spend less time together." At first, his children resisted. They were shocked, but slowly they began to understand. Michael was no longer tolerating disrespect. He valued himself enough to demand better, and because of that, they started giving it. This is what boundaries do. They teach others how to treat you. Without them, respect fades. With them, dignity is restored. So let me ask you, do you sometimes stay silent just to keep the peace? If yes, type the number 4 in the comments. You'll see how many others have felt the same way. Here's how to begin setting boundaries in your own life. First, decide what you will no longer tolerate. Be clear in your own mind. Second, communicate it calmly and firmly. You don't need anger, you don't need shouting. A simple, steady statement is enough. Third, enforce it, because a boundary without enforcement is only a wish. If your children dismiss your words, remind them calmly. If they continue, take action, reduce your time or energy until respect is shown. At first, it will feel uncomfortable, but over time, your children will see that your love is strong enough to require respect, and they will begin to respond. Remember, boundaries are not about pushing people away. They are about bringing respect back in. So if your children have been treating you as though your voice doesn't matter, take this action now. Set your boundaries, enforce them, and watch how the dynamic begins to shift. And once you've done this, you are ready for the next powerful step. Action 5. Stop giving without appreciation. Action 5. Stop giving without appreciation. As parents, we give. We give our time, we give our energy, we give our love, and for many years we give without asking for anything in return. But here's the danger. If you continue giving to those who don't appreciate it, you don't create gratitude. You create expectation. The more you give without recognition, the more people, sometimes even your own children, begin to see your kindness as an entitlement. They don't say thank you. They don't notice the sacrifice. They simply expect it. And when you finally stop, they don't feel grateful, they feel inconvenienced. Let me tell you about Richard. Richard had always been a generous father. Whenever his children needed help, he was there. If they asked for money, he gave it. If they needed a ride, he dropped everything. If they needed advice, he canceled his own plans to listen. But instead of gratitude, what did he receive? Complaints, demands, even frustration when he couldn't give more. The day came when Richard needed help himself. He asked his children to assist with some errands after a minor surgery, but they were too busy, too distracted, too used to his endless giving. That was the breaking point. Richard realized something powerful. By giving without limits, he had trained them not to value his generosity. So he made a change. He stopped offering help before it was even asked. He stopped rearranging his life around their every need. And most importantly, he started saying no. At first, his children resisted. They were frustrated. But slowly, something shifted. They began to see that his help was not guaranteed, it was a gift. And gifts are meant to be appreciated. This is the lesson for all of us. When generosity is endless, it becomes invisible. When it is balanced, it regains value. So what can you do? First, take a step back. Ask yourself, am I giving more than I should? Am I offering help that isn't noticed or even expected? Second, learn to pause before you give. If you feel drained, step back. If you feel taken for granted, hold back. Your kindness should not come at the cost of your dignity. Third, remember that real love is not about constant sacrifice. It is about respect on both sides. When your children learn that your time and effort are valuable, they will begin to treat them that way. Let me ask you this. Have you ever felt that your giving was taken for granted? If yes, type the number 5 in the comments. Your story matters and you're not alone. Richard's story proves that saying no is not unloving. It's healthy, it's powerful, and it's necessary for respect. So the next time you feel drained from giving, remember this. You don't build love by giving endlessly. You build love by giving with meaning and with boundaries. Stop giving without appreciation, because the moment you do, your children will begin to see your generosity as it truly is, a blessing, not a duty. And now let's move to the final and perhaps most liberating step. Action 6, build a life outside of them. Action 6, build a life outside of them. Perhaps the most powerful way to regain your children's respect is this. Show them that your happiness does not depend on them. For many years, you may have made your children the center of your world. You raised them. You sacrificed for them. You built your life around their needs. But as the years pass, that dynamic shifts. And if you continue to live only through them, something dangerous happens. They begin to see you as someone with no life of your own, and that image quietly erodes their respect. People respect those who live with purpose, with joy, with independence. And yes, that includes your children. I remember Eleanor, a widow in her late 70s. After her husband passed, she poured all her energy into her children's lives. She checked in constantly. She offered advice they didn't ask for. She relied on them to fill the emptiness she felt. But instead of drawing them closer, it pushed them away. Her calls became interruptions. Her visits felt heavy, and her children started pulling back. Eleanor felt more alone than ever, until one day she chose a different path. She joined a local book club. She began traveling with friends. She volunteered at a community center, helping others who needed support. She stopped waiting for her children to bring her joy. She started creating her own. And something incredible happened. Her children noticed. They began calling more often, not out of guilt, but out of genuine curiosity. They asked Mom, "How was your trip?" They admired her independence. They respected her again. This is the lesson. When your world is bigger than your children, they begin to see you with fresh eyes, not as someone waiting for their attention, but as someone living a full, meaningful life. So how can you begin building this life for yourself? First, rediscover old passions. What did you love before your children became the center of everything? Reading, music, painting, travel. Go back to it. Second, find new adventures. It doesn't need to be dramatic. It can be gardening, joining a walking group, or volunteering at a local charity. Every small step creates energy and fulfillment. Third, expand your circle. Connect with friends, meet new people, build relationships that enrich your spirit. And remember this, when you stop relying on your children for meaning, you free them. Instead of feeling weighed down, they will feel drawn in. Instead of obligation, they will offer admiration. Let me ask you a simple question. Do you sometimes feel like your life revolves too much around your children? If yes, type the number 6 in the comments. It's a powerful first step to admit it and to change it. Eleanor's story shows us what's possible. Her children respected her more when she stopped making them her entire world. And the same can happen for you. So take this step with courage. Build a life outside of them. Because when you do, you won't just regain respect. You'll regain joy, you'll regain independence, and most importantly, you'll regain yourself. Now that we've covered all 6 actions, it's time to bring everything together with one final message. Let's move into the conclusion. Conclusion. Respect is not something you can demand. It is something you inspire. And the good news is, no matter how far the relationship may have slipped, you can rebuild it. Think back to what we've shared today. Action 1, stop chasing their approval, because self-respect always comes first. Action 2, don't argue, lead by example. Your calm presence carries more weight than words ever could. Action 3, withdraw your emotional dependence. Stand strong on your own, and they will admire you for it. Action 4, set boundaries and enforce them, because silence teaches acceptance, but firmness teaches respect. Action 5, stop giving without appreciation. Your generosity must be seen as a gift, not a guarantee. And Action 6, build a life outside of them. Show them that your happiness is full and complete with or without their constant attention. When you put these actions into practice, something remarkable happens. Your children begin to see you in a new light. Not as someone waiting for their approval, but as someone who commands respect simply by living with dignity. So take heart. You are not powerless. You are not forgotten. You hold the key to restoring respect, starting with how you respect yourself. If today's message spoke to you, share one insight in the comments below. We'd love to hear what step you plan to take. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so you never miss the guidance and encouragement we bring. Thank you for being here. And remember, respect begins with you.